surrounded by gruesome mixes of Ultron and zombie, Hank Pym shares his plan. He believes that the cyborgs are using ionic energy to combine the organic and inorganic. Ultron must have used the three men who stand before him to perfect this process, which gives Hank a valuable opportunity to exploit this to their benefit. The zombified robots have a hive mind, and Pym believes he can use it to take control of the attacking forces. But this plan will require a sacrifice of all three men. It will cost them everything, but save salvation. After a moment of quiet, Jim Hammond asks what they need to do. Hank says he will need to adjust the ionic shield to turn it into a beacon, so all he needs is some time. He suggests that if there's anyone they want to say goodbye to, they should do so now. Outside of the dome, Magneto is impressed. He asks what Ultron feels right now, which confuses the android. He isn't even certain that he can experience emotion, and certainly doesn't experience physical changes in the body relative to his mental state like humans do. In turn, Ultron asks what his ally feels as one of the undead. Magneto answers that all he feels now is hunger. It's the only emotion that matters anymore. Though today, he also feels excitement, not for the glory of conquest, but in anticipation of all those wonderful people he's about to eat. Meanwhile, the three men say goodbye to their loved ones. Agatha is the most accepting, as she always knew her time with the Vision would be brief thanks to the robot's ageless body. The tragedy is that she's the one that has to outlive him. Iron Cross, on the other hand, is devastated at this news, and refuses to accept this. Wonder Man tells her that this is his duty, and though he's scared too, there's no other choice. Finally, Jim Hammond has one request of Ryoko. If it's a boy, he'd like the baby to be named Steve, in honor of the bravest man the Human Torch has ever known. But the love of his life refuses to do so. If it's a boy, she's naming him after the bravest man she's ever known. Hank continues his work, reflecting on his time in the town of Timely. This quaint place lacked in technology, but Hank had a vision of what it could be, a world of wonders and marvels. One particular idea always fascinated him, that of a clockwork man. In order to make his machine strong enough, he sought adamantium from another domain. Pym was unclear as to the metal's origins, as the buyer refused to tell him where he got it from. But Doom does not like this metal crossing the borders of Battleworlds, fearing it will upset the balance between these areas. So Hank found himself banished over the wall and stuck in this mess. The Vision appears and asks how much longer until he's ready, and Hank says he only needs a minute. But it's too late. They've made it through the barrier. A slaughter begins as many residents of Sanctuary are devoured alive. The heroes hold the line and protect the civilians, but they are vastly outnumbered. Before Hank can activate the beacon, a zombie appears and attacks the man. Luckily, he is saved by his one-time love Janet, who has finally found Pym. He activates the beacon, and the three heroes move in to make use of it. Hank runs outside and thanks his friends, apologizing for not having a better plan. But the Vision says this isn't the end, not for the people they love, and that's all that matters. He and Wonder Man enter the beacon, but before Jim Hammond can go too, the Iron Cross stops him. There have been too many goodbyes today, and Hank Pym altered the woman's cybernetics so she can be with Simon. And so it was. The beautiful bright light of the beacon attracted the attention of the humans very briefly, but for the cyborgs, it was permanent. And as for Ultron himself, well, it turns out he was no better than a clockwork man. Later, Janet comes to see Hank and asks what he is building. He replies that he isn't making anything and is just working on cleaning up. He asks her if she wants to help, to which she smiles. Meanwhile, Ryoko asks if they want to name their child Steve now that Jim has survived. He replies that he loves her, which, to be fair, is a terrible name. Hello and welcome to Comic Island. My name is Arden, and this is my recap and review of Age of Ultron vs. Marvel Zombies number 4. So that was interesting, I guess. I do like how the story spends its time on its characters to make sure they're developed and ensure that we understand the sacrifice and the significance of it. I also really like this comic's art. But I will restate there's very little actual conflict between Zombie and Ultron in this issue or the entire tie-in, which is a problem. It's wrong to title your comics incorrectly because it means that the reader doesn't get what they expected out of it. The comic feels rushed as well, as a couple of mistakes suggest a lack of proper editing. On top of that, this ending is a literal Deus Ex Machina, where a god arises from this machine and saves the day at last minute. And while I do appreciate a good old-fashioned zombie slaughterfest, I just don't get what this story was supposed to be. Was this comic supposed to be lighthearted action? And why bother with all the heavy-handed emotional scenes? Was it meant to be intense horror? Well, then how are we supposed to take these Cronenberg zombie cyborg monsters seriously? Or was this a character-driven drama? Well, the character work in this story is excellent, so I guess that's what this story is supposed to be. I don't understand why you do that though in a comic called Age of Ultron vs. Marvel Zombies. I don't get this story's purpose, other than to just push out a story with an easy-to-sell title. Disappointing is the word I'm feeling I keep coming back to. I was let down by this comic. It could have been a fun or suspenseful story, but I feel like it's neither, and instead the comic has a really weak ending that makes the whole tie-in feel like a bit of a waste of time. While it does have some great moments with the main characters, and even little things like Hank getting adamantium from Wolverine's skeleton, the flaws of this comic outweigh the strengths, and overall, I just can't recommend this issue. There's many other better comics which feature the Marvel Zombies in them, and you'd be better off with those. Ah well, with one tie-in done, it will give me more opportunities to cover other stuff going forward, and I'm eager to do so. So let me know if you agree with my thoughts and what you felt about the Age of Ultron vs. Marvel Zombies on a whole in the comments section below. And as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and keep reading comics.